And I think my kind of ambition at the beginning was to, I know that there's going to be freshmen like me who are shy coming into school, who come from far away, that need that community. And, if I could help one, it would make my experience worth it.
This is On Air with Student Affairs. I'm your host, Elizabeth Drake, and today we are here with Texas A&M's Extended Orientation Camp, Fish Camp. So I'd love to get us started by hearing a little bit more about each of you guys, your name, major, hometown, and class year.
I'll start. Yeah. My name is Adrian Urbina. I am a senior sport management major here at Texas A&M, and I am originally from El Paso, Texas. Is that it? Okay.
My name is Marisa Muller. I'm an English major, senior English major here at Texas A&M, and I'm originally from Sugar Land, Texas.
I'm Adam Hernandez. I'm a graduate Master of Natural Resources student, and I'm originally from Colorado City, Texas.
Awesome. So what brought each of you guys to Texas A&M?
So, yeah, my mom was an Aggie, and that's really the only school I heard about growing up. And it was just a great time, just learning all about all the traditions that she had gone through and, her time on A&M. And just, I knew I was always coming here. That was a guarantee. That was a given.
Yeah, I'm also, a third-generation Aggie. My grandpa, loves to say he went here when it was an all-men's school, and he, did a bunch for the engineering program and stuff, so it was just always, my parents met here, destined to go here kind of a thing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of the opposite. I first-gen Aggie, first-gen college student, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do going into, senior year, and A&M was the only school I kind of toured, and I kind of just fell in love with it. I came and toured during Thanksgiving break, so it was, kind of dead, but I really fell in love with it, and I could just feel like this is where I was meant to be. And so that's what drew me here. Nothing really in particular, but yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing a little bit about each of you. Now let's talk a little bit more about Fish Camp. For anyone who's watching that doesn't know what Fish Camp is or didn't go, what is Fish Camp?
I mean, I think the easy answer is it's a 3-day, 2-night extended orientation for freshmen coming to Texas A&M. This year we're serving the class of 2030, which is crazy to think about. Compared to other years. The fact that it doesn't start with a 2 is really freaking me out personally, but we're really excited to welcome them. It's great. It basically just teaches you about the traditions at A&M. If you've never been to A&M or don't know anything about the culture, the people, it really welcomes you in. You get to meet current students who serve as counselors and chairs and directors like us. And yeah, anyone.
Yeah, I think what makes fish camps unique is there's really nothing like it in the country and the world, at least from what I've heard. Fish camp is its own unique experience. And what makes it so special to me is you go into fish camp, and especially me, I didn't really know anything about A&M. And I left after 3 days and I was I feel like I know so much about A&M. I feel like I've met so many cool people. And I feel like a lot of universities can't really say that for their students, can't provide that opportunity. And even though there are stuff like that out there, it's not the same as fish camp. And like Marisa said, you get to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds that you wouldn't be able to meet if you don't go to fish camp. So I think that's what kind of draws people in, is just the aspect of meeting so many cool people.
Yeah, it sounds like a great way for Aggies to get their Aggie experience started before they even step foot on campus.
Yeah.
So how did you guys first even hear about Fish Camp as freshmen?
I think my answer was really simple. Like I said, family's been here forever, was very involved in traditions. My older brother went to college here. He went to fish camp, so it was kind of just a given. My mom was the sign-up's open, it's time to sign up. But I did also hear about it from people at my high school. Just anyone who was going to A&M seemed to already be going, so I was oh, I guess this is something I'm going to do.
I found out about it through my Aggie Moms Club at home. I didn't really know a lot about A&M, obviously, I've stated a lot of times already, but I went to an Aggie Moms event and they were talking about it, and I was oh, that sounds really scary, but I guess I'll try it out. And I kind of I knew it would be the best for me to sign up for it, even though it did scare me a little bit. And even though day one I arrived and I was my thoughts were correct. I was right to be scared, but it honestly was a really good experience for me at the end of it. And if it weren't for my Aggie Moms Club, I wouldn't have heard about it. So
yeah, look at you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was my mom. She came to A&M. So even though I really didn't know much about like campus life or the culture or many of the traditions, she said, well, I saw this fish camp email. You're signing up with your cousin. And I said, okay, yes, ma'am. And I filled out the registration and then get to camp. And then me and my cousin get separated into 2 different color camps. And it's so fun just being able to like see that from a 1-day signing up in May right after graduating high school to going to a session with hundreds of freshmen at a time was so cool.
What was each of y'all's first experience with fish camp?
Yeah, so 4 years ago, I attended Session E 2022 as a freshman. And even though I mentioned like my mom had come to A&M, I really didn't know too much about just the scale and the culture. And it was just a great experience to meet new people, like my hometown, 6 hours away from College Station. So I knew practically next to no one coming here, and getting plugged in with so many cool people off the bat at my freshman camp was such a great experience. And that's kind of really where I fell in love with it, was just getting to meet so many cool people and then like just having that great experience to start me up for success for my next 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me, I obviously, like I said, like my grandparents live in Bryan. Like I've come up a lot. I came to football games as a kid. Like I knew what A&M was. I knew how important the traditions were. But going to fish camp kind of like helped me transition into college and realize like there are people here who are like me, and like there are people that will support me and be there for me and are interested in my success as a first year student, which I thought was like really impactful and great. And I think that I was really lucky to like do it, because some people didn't, and some people were like, oh, fish camp's like not cool or it's not fun. And I was so glad I went because it had such a huge impact on me. And obviously I'm still sitting here today because it means a lot to all of the students that it impacts. But
yeah. For me, like I said, I didn't really know a lot about A&M. I didn't know a lot about fish camp. I just knew it was a good way to like kind of put your foot in the door and like get to meet people. And so I like pulled up freshman year into like Reed parking lot, and I just saw a bunch of like screaming teenagers wearing like wigs and fake tattoos and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But by the end of it, like by the end of like the first day, I was like, this is a lot of fun. And it really does teach you a lot about A&M traditions, even if you're not from here and you don't really know a lot. I think we are very intentional about our programming, and we try to set the students up for success as best as we can. And I think that's what made it so special for me, was I could tell how much effort the counselors, the chairs, the directors, they put into it. And I think that's what makes it stand out to this day. And like Marisa said, why we keep coming back to do this is we want to put in that effort to give these students, that experience. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you both touched on it a little bit, that you each had different experiences going into fish camp, and you try and be very intentional about the different programming. But what do you think fish camp gives to students that, like, what information are they gaining when they go to fish camp that they didn't already know? Or what did you guys gain that you didn't already know going to fish camp?
I think one thing that I gained that I didn't really expect as someone who like had a lot of knowledge on traditions and A&M in general was like all of the resources that are available to students. This university pours so much energy and time into its student and its student body by providing like so many resources, from like super general like health services to like really niche like support for really small majors. Me and Adam can talk about that. Both of our majors are pretty small. And like I didn't realize how much help there was out there until I went to fish camp and I talked to people who were in my majors, like different counselors and chairs, or I talked to other counselors just about like resources that A&M had. And I realized like just how much help I could get from the university and like how many free things are out there for you to take advantage of during your time as a student.
Yeah, I think what like kind of going off of that, the skits are a really good way to showcase what A&M has to offer that you can't really see at like a new student conference. Like learning about like what a core escort is, learning about what health services are there for you, learning about tutoring labs and like all this type of like mentoring that is available to first year students, especially that's not really advertised well at new student conferences. I think is what makes fish camp stand out in that aspect, is those like through skits that are like supposed to be funny. There's, even though they are funny, like they do provide you with a good baseline and like knowledge of like what these resources are. And I think we do a good job of like making sure that we keep them entertaining, but also that we stick to like making sure that they are actually getting the information they need. So
yeah, absolutely. Could you talk a little bit more about the skits for anyone who's watching that's never been to fish camp?
Yeah. So basically what the skits are, I like to describe them as like Saturday Night Live type things, where a group of counselors ranging from like 1 to like all 24 will go up on stage and like just perform a skit based on like a certain tradition or like a resource we have at A&M. So we do like a bachelor themed one, and that one is centered around like the bus systems here and like what each bus takes you where. We do a bunch of like dancing ones that teach you about like the yell leaders, the football games, stuff like that. And it's just a really good way to keep the freshmen engaged, because when you're at camp for 3 days, like there are times where it can get like, oh, like I want to go to bed, I'm really tired. But I think the skits are a good way to like keep the freshmen engaged, keep them wanting to like learn more about what A&M has to offer. And the good thing about these skits is like we perform the skits, and then sometimes afterwards we'll like come together as a camp, we'll split off into GGs and like talk about the skits, talk about like what we just learned and stuff like that. And I think that's really helped the freshmen in past years. So
Do you guys have a favorite skit?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to
I think mine would have to be I really like the Howdy skit. That one's it's like if you've ever seen the Starkeisha video, that's what it's based off of. And it's just a really fun way to like teach the freshmen about howdy. It's our like the greeting we have here at A&M. And it's just like a little dance we put together, so that's fun.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to say my favorite is the toast, which I don't actually know what it's based off of. I think it's maybe based off like a really old SNL skit, but it's essentially this like really long and really elaborate toast that these like three, usually typically guys, like put on because they're about to go like work out at the Rex, and it's about the Rex, but it's just like really goofy. There's a bunch of like really funny sayings in it, and I just think it always like is such a good hit. And usually namesakes get to be in it, which is like such a fun privilege for us. But
Yeah, for me, it's a Traditions boy band. Kind of like what we were talking about with how the skits go all over the place. Like our counselors, they're learning choreography like day in and day out to make sure that this skit is like perfect when it comes to camp. And it's just a really fun time. Like I want to say one of my most like proud memories of a chair was seeing my guys like going so into the skit to like make sure that it was the best it could be. And it's, these guys up on stage singing their hearts out to the tune of so many classic boy band songs, but teaching traditions through it. It's so fun.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
a memorable way to get so many students and everyone at Fish Camp involved with traditions and learning about campus in a fun new way. So kind of shifting back to your experiences as freshmen at Fish Camp, what do you think one of your most memorable moments was? What really stuck out to you all those years ago about what was important going into A&M?
I think the biggest thing I took away from my freshman camp experience was the more somber traditions we talked about, such as muster, silver taps, and bonfire. At camp, we have this like entire presentation and time allotted for kind of like a mock run through of what muster and silver taps and bonfire, what those all encompass, and what that kind of looks like when you're on campus. And I had no idea what any of those three traditions were going into Fish Camp because I hadn't gone to A&M. I didn't really know anything. But after sitting through that presentation and just learning about how impactful these traditions are to A&M and like the community here, it really kind of like made me realize like A&M is a really special place that like with really special people, and they're very intentional about their traditions. And that is something I was super, super excited going into this, was getting to be a part of that community. And I think that little intro presentation we got at Fish Camp about mustard and silver taps and bonfire, about all those really somber traditions, really kind of struck me and like made me realize like this is where I need to be. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something really cool to point out too to our viewers is, I know from my own Fish Camp experience, I know a lot of people describe when they attend those traditions on campus that they get chills from how touching it is to see the Aggie family there for them. And I don't know about you guys, but when I attended those ceremonies at Fish Camp, I got those same chills being put. You're really just thrown into the Aggie family already. And even though you're at this camp at Lakeview, it's the same experience and it's the same feeling as when you get here on campus.
yeah, I mean, I literally just got chills like talking about it. So like, it's like, but like you said, being at camp in like in this really, really hot, big presentation room, even though it's like not really what you're not actually at muster, you're not actually at silver taps, you still feel like you are. And I think that's what makes it really special. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, kind of a total switch up of vibes.
Yeah.
But another memory that I had, I like rolled my ankle my first like freshman year at camp. It was the whole thing, but I really didn't want to leave or like sit in the infirmary, so I just like pretended like I was fine. Please don't ever do that if you go. But like it was awesome, and the counselors were super great and super supportive. But we have an all camp mixer the second night of fish camp, where basically all of the camps bring all of their freshmen to Copeland, and it's kind of your opportunity. And Copeland's like our big presenter hall. But it's kind of your opportunity to like meet all of the other freshmen in other camps. Like if you haven't had a chance to mingle with them, meet other counselors, because like I've mentioned before, my major, I'm an English major. It's a really small major. So no one in my camp was an English major, but I met a counselor in another camp that was. So I got to like connect with them, and you just like dance and have a bunch of fun, and you get to talk to so many people. And I think it's just like another way that fish camp gets to be a fun, like freshman focused event. And it just was awesome being in this like essentially huge like dance party of like hundreds of freshmen and getting to meet so many people. So I was like, it really stuck with me. And also I like was hanging on to people with my ankle so I could still jump around, but it was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, it was in those designated. So we have discussion group times, or DGs, that we like circle up with around 9 or 12 other freshmen, with two counselors, just kind of talking about our activities and that's going on. I really think it's worked so hard to break down some of those barriers that like you might be afraid to talk about the pressures you're feeling coming into college from high school. And me having great DG leaders in my discussion group really helped to like connect us all and like be so close with each other. And, you know, one of my discussion group, another students that was in my group, you know, we've been roommates for 3 years now. And I think that just kind of goes to like, to the testament of like how much service like the counselors put into it to like really open you up and then set you up for like the best possible time.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, each of you has been so impacted by this organization. But outside of that, what made you want to get involved on the organization side of Fish Camp?
I mean, I can start. I, as a freshman, was like really lost in where my place would like A&M was. I didn't really get into like any initial like freshman organizations, and I was like kind of floating around. I had like good friends. I didn't live on campus, which also I think was kind of like an isolating experience in some ways. And so I was like, oh, I really don't know what to do. And one of my fish camp counselors from my freshman year had reached out to me. It was like, hey, counselor applications have opened. If I think you'd be like really good at this, like you should just apply and like see what happens. And I was like, oh, I'm not in anything else. Like seems cool. I had a great time. Like might as well. And like to this day, I always say like it was probably the best decision I could have ever made. I think Fish Camp has a really special way from freshman to counselor to chair to even director of connecting you with the people you need at the exact moment that you need them. And I think every camp I've been in has taught me so much about like who I am as a leader and how I can be such a good person like in our world and our university. And I'm just like eternally grateful for the fact that it put my foot in the door, and now I'm connected to so many other pieces of A&M because of the people that I met and because of the experiences that I had. So
yeah, that's really beautiful.
I think for me, I was very, very, very timid coming into A&M. Even at Fish Camp, I had a great time, but I feel like I had a hard time branching out just because being from El Paso, being from like 10 hours away, it's kind of hard, especially coming here and not having any friends, not knowing anyone, to kind of like put yourself out there in a very new environment. But like Adam touched on earlier, I had really good DG leaders, and they really put an effort into like making sure I had a really good at camp experience and, you know, good transition going into like my freshman year. And that's honestly kind of what inspired me to like go into this role go into that role of a counselor, is being that support that even if I can only impact one freshman, like I've done my job. And I think just thinking about the impact I can make on hopefully more than one, obviously, but that's what inspired me to become a counselor and, you know, progress throughout the organization as a chair and now director, is kind of finding a way to impact the organization from a different level. And I think after 2 years of a counselor, I felt like I was ready to impact the organization from a chair perspective and kind of be that support for counselors so they could be able to then support their freshmen. And now as a director, even further down that chain of command. But that's honestly what's inspired me to keep going in this organization, is just the impact that my counselors had on me my freshman year, and knowing that a small conversation or like a small intentional effort that I can make can really go a long way. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I really think it's, similar to what Adrian and Marissa had said for me. I mean, think starting out, like having that community of my DG leaders staying in contact with me and encourage me to like check out this organization from that counselor's perspective was really cool. And I think my kind of ambition at the beginning was to, I know that there's going to be freshmen like me who are shy coming into school, who come from far away, that need that community. And, if I could help one, it'd make my experience worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really noticed how each of your answers kind of touched on the selfless service aspect of Fish Camp. Each one of you really just talked about how much you loved being a part of Fish Camp because you loved pouring into future Aggies because people poured into you. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about these continuity events that Fish Camp has. How does Fish Camp continue happening after they leave Lakeview? And how do counselors continue to support freshmen once they're here on campus?
You want to take that?
Sure. I think that so continuity events are events that are hosted by each individual camp the 12 weeks following the beginning of the semester. And then each camp also has 3 like full camp continuity events, which is their reunion, the first Fish Camp football game, which is the first game of the season, and their weekly hangout that happens throughout those 12 weeks. There are 12 partnerships in every camp, so each partnership is in charge of like one continuity event per those 12 weeks. And they range from like something as simple as like going to Sonic on a Sunday to like going to Grand Station on, I think it's Tuesdays when they have a deal or whatever, like Girls Bowl free or something like that. But they range from like just a bunch of fun activities that usually don't really cost much for the students to have that opportunity to reconnect with those counselors that maybe like can give them advice on their major, can give them advice just like from their life experience as college students, and an opportunity to reconnect with like all of the freshmen that were in their camp. We like love to say that Fish Camp is just like camp itself at Lakeview is just the start. Like those 3 days are just the beginning of your experience in that camp. And it doesn't end. And I can say like firmly, I still hang out and talk to people from my freshman year camp. So like it really doesn't end. And it's impressive how connected Fish Camps stay just based off like those conscious efforts to stay in contact with each other and like have reunions and do all those things. So yeah, continuity is just the continuation of everything we did at camp.
Yeah. So for those watching who are like, why Fish Camp? They've already gone to their on-campus orientation and registered for classes. Why do you guys think it's still important to attend Fish Camp?
I feel like we've touched on this a little bit, but I think Fish Camp is definitely, we do a really good job at being intentional with the way we interact with the students and making sure that they're gaining the knowledge that they need going into freshman year. And even though new student conferences are super helpful, like it's very helpful for the academic side of it, I think Fish Camp does a really good job of kind of also supporting them academically and providing that support, but also showing them the importance of like the tradition side of it. And, the fun little things we do like skits, the mixers, the free time we give them on day 2, just giving them freedom to like kind of do what they want, make their experience what they want, even when the new student conferences and the orientations are a little more structured. I feel like even though Fish Camp is very structured in a way, it still gives the freshmen a time to like kind of branch out and like be funny, be silly, and have a good time and meet even more people than they would at a new student conference, because at Fish Camp, you're kind of forced to like hang out with people and you're like put into these discussion groups, you're put into these camps, and it's kind of like, all right, you guys need to talk to each other. And you guys, by the end of day 3, like you're going to want to talk to each other. It's not going to be a forced, it's going to be like, you want to do this. And I think that's what makes it different from like a new student conference, where when you're meeting people, it may seem like a little like you're asking the generic questions. It may seem a little forced, but Fish Camp, by the end of it, it's very, very different than that. And you kind of see that transformation happen right before your eyes at camp. So
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of seems like New Student Conference is a great way to get your foot in the door, starting off academically, getting to know your way around campus. But something so special and unique about A&M is we have all this involvement in the Aggie experience that I know we always talk about on this podcast. But it seems like Fish Camp's a great way to start getting involved at Texas A&M and meet more people. Do you guys see a lot of freshmen start to get involved with people they meet at Fish Camp?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I think something Adrian kind of touched on is just like, A&M loves to say like, oh, the Aggie family, like we are a big family. And I think Fish Camp really is the first step into getting fully like integrated into that family. And you get to meet so many people who are involved in women's organizations, men's organizations, sororities, fraternities, like academic organizations or like major specific organizations, and you get your foot in the door with so many people who can help not only your academic career, but your social life in college, because I think balance is important and you need to be able to like meet people and have fun as well as do well in your academics. And I think Fish Camp does a really good job of showing that both sides are there and available to every incoming student, whether you are a super shy, super reserved student, or you're the one who would stand up in the middle of a table and scream something out. Like, you can be either and be really successful here, even though the university feels massive. There are so many little families that are like happy to take you in within the Aggie family, and Fish Camp does a really good job of helping you find those communities that you'll connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. So while it's about traditions, it's also about helping Aggies find their first place here on campus. What would you guys tell a freshman who's maybe nervous about coming to Fish Camp?
I think that the best advice that anyone has ever given me and that I give out every year is just like throw yourself in. It's a freaky, scary experience. There's, like Adrian mentioned earlier, like people running up to you with fake tattoos and crazy hair and all this stuff. But they're doing that. Counselors do that and chairs do that to make you as a freshman feel the most comfortable, because they've been in the spot that you've been in, whether they attended Fish Camp or not. They were a scared freshman. They didn't know what was going on. And they found a community and home within Fish Camp, and that's all that they want for you. So just let the experience take you, roll through the punches. It might not all be perfect, but you might find a roommate or a best friend or the one person you needed to change your entire collegiate experience. So I think it's worth the risk of being a little embarrassed, a little afraid, a little scared in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, my biggest piece of advice would be to not be afraid to say yes. Even if it's something as small as someone asking you to sit down next to them at lunch or during camp time. I think it's super important that even if it makes you uncomfortable, it makes you scared, just to say yes, like Marisa said, to just dive in, because you never know who the person you might sit next to could be later down in your life and how important they could be in your experience at A&M. And I think it's super important to just not be afraid going into this experience, just to make yourself uncomfortable, because I think that's the whole point of college is you're throwing yourself into a very big, especially at A&M, a very big campus, lots of people that you obviously have not met. And I think the only way that you're going to get the most out of your experience is to dive in and just say yes to everything, even if it at the moment kind of scares you a little bit.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Those hesitations you have as a student coming from high school, like everyone feels them, and like what they've been covering is, it's going to happen. And like, there are so many people there to help you, which is really great. I've, never regretted attending Fish Camp. I think that that's something, despite coming back year after year, I would do it all over again. I would attend Fish Camp. I would sign up for it, and I would, happily put myself out there just so I could know that it was going to benefit me in the long run.
So I'd love to kind of finish this out today by talking about a common misconception I hear is, do freshmen have to be outgoing to go to Fish Camp?
No. I think the easy answer is no. It's easy to think, especially looking at just the counselors' like perspective of Fish Camp, that all of those counselors are super outgoing, super extroverted people. But the reality is we have so many introverted people that participate in Fish Camp as counselors and as freshmen. I think all of us have kind of touched on today how we weren't exactly the most extroverted people, and I think Fish Camp most definitely made me more extroverted, because you are put in situations where you're uncomfortable and you have to talk to people you don't know. But by no means do you have to be an extrovert. I think we strive for within our counselor staff and chair staff is that we have someone for everyone.
Yeah.
You want every freshman to connect with someone, and you want those connections to be genuine, and not every freshman is going to be someone who wants a solo in the yell off or wants to be front and center in like the cafeteria or something like that. And we have counselors that serve those freshmen great, but we also have counselors who will sit out of the mixer because it's loud and overstimulating and go play board games in the aqua room with freshmen that maybe aren't into a mixer, aren't into whatever activities going on. So we have someone for everyone, and I think though we will stress and push for freshmen to be outgoing and to put themselves in uncomfortable situations, we're also wanting to meet them where they're at and give them the best experience for themselves possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Fish Camp's for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing a little bit more about your experience with Fish Camp and the impact that Fish Camp has on Texas A&M as a whole. Thanks, and
Get
go.
go.